Mr. Aspin, seconded by Mr. Benoit, moves that in the opinion of the House, a government loan guarantee to the Lower Churchill hydroelectric project is A, an important part of a clean energy agenda, B, an economically viable project that will create thousands of jobs and billions in economic growth, C, regionally significant for the Atlantic region, which will benefit from a stable and sustainable electricity source for decades to come, and D, environmentally friendly with substantial greenhouse gas emission reductions through the displacement of power from coal-fired and oil electricity sources. Debate. The Honourable Member for Nipissing-Timiskaming.
Mr. Speaker, in the 2011 speech from the throne, our Conservative government committed to developing Canada's extraordinary resource wealth for the benefit of all Canadians. Our desire to foster the development of major new clean energy projects of national or regional significance and to create long-term economic growth and energy security for all Canadians was outlined at the outset of our majority Conservative mandate. With these goals in mind, we are very pleased to see that the provinces of Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia are moving forward with the Lower Churchill River Projects, which is being undertaken by Newfoundland and Labrador's Crown-owned energy corporation, Nalcor Energy, and by Elmira, Inc. of Nova Scotia. As members know, the Lower Churchill River projects comprise the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric generating station and 3 transmission lines, one between Muskrat Falls and Churchill Falls, another between Labrador and the island of Newfoundland, and a subsea transmission line connecting Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. These projects offer substantial economic and environmental benefits to the entire Atlantic region. The clean, renewable hydroelectricity that would be generated by the Muskrat Falls could reduce carbon emissions by up to 4.5 megatonnes every year. In fact, once the projects are fully operational, the Newfoundland and Labrador electricity supply will be 98% emissions-free. This will further contribute to Canada's already impressive supply of non-emitting electricity. As all members know, 3/4 of our current electricity supply is produced by non-emitting sources, much of which comes from hydroelectric projects. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the projects will allow Newfoundland and Labrador to achieve complete energy independence using a clean and renewable source. As well, the power generated from Muskrat Falls will contribute to Nova Scotia meeting its renewable energy targets and displace coal-fired electricity generation in that province. In addition to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by up to 4 million tonnes annually, which according to estimates is the equivalent of approximately 1 million cars off the road, the Lower Churchill projects will also generate $1.9 billion in revenue for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. This brings me to the motion that we are debating today. Clean energy is an important issue to my constituents, as it is to all Canadians across the country. In my role as the chair of the all-party Clean Tech Caucus, I feel that a motion affirming our government's support for these renewable projects is appropriate. Private members, motion number 412 offers all members of the House an opportunity to express their support for the Lower Churchill River projects, both in terms of what they mean for the provinces of Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia, in terms of the greenhouse gas reductions, and in terms of their enormous economic potential. The benefits of these specific projects include energy self-sufficiency, a clean, renewable, and reliable source of electricity that will lead to substantial reductions in greenhouse gas emissions as coal and oil-fired power generations are displaced. Stable electricity rates for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia. Thousands of jobs created during the construction phase. economic spin-offs for other industrial sectors, and a maritime transmission link that will provide stable, sustainable energy throughout the region. The Government of Canada has agreed on the terms and conditions for a federal loan guarantee, giving these vital energy projects a solid endorsement, and today we stand by this endorsement. Muskrat Falls will help meet the energy needs of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and the electricity needs of many Nova Scotians. The Government of Canada believes that Lower Churchill projects are fully justified for the following fundamental reasons. They will provide enormous economic and environmental benefits, as they are truly in the best interest of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, Nova Scotians, and in fact all Canadians. Unfortunately, in yet another attempt by the opposition to stop development of any kind, the leader of the Green Party has spoken out against this project, saying the project should be, quote, reconsidered because renewable forms of energy other than a large hydroelectric plant should be pursued, end quote. The province of Newfoundland and Labrador has looked at other options for new sources of energy. They carefully considered the potential for wind power, and they looked at the possibility of natural gas generation. But every analysis of these options favored the development of hydropower. It's reliable. It's a steady and secure source of clean energy, and it's available at an affordable cost. These things are exactly what the Lower Churchill River projects will deliver. Furthermore, the members should know that her statements have been contradicted by the findings of several independent third-party analysis commissioned by the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador and by NALCO. Numerous analyses indicated that projects are economically viable even with the increased cost estimates, that they will substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions and will create jobs across Atlantic Canada. Specifically, the Lower Churchill projects will result in an average of 1,500 jobs during each year of construction, with a peak employment during construction of approximately 3,100 people. For these reasons, on November 30th, 2012, the Government of Canada announced an agreement with the governments of Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia on the terms and conditions for a federal loan guarantee for the Lower Churchill River projects. This project will further benefit all of Atlantic Canada. NALCOR intends to use 2 million megawatts hours of renewable energy from Muskrat Falls to replace the 490 megawatt Hollyrod oil-fired plant. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the connection to the North American grid, coupled with the increased backup capacity resulting from the projects, could strengthen opportunities to further develop other renewable energy sources, such as wind or solar. These projects will certainly contribute to the Government of Canada's objective to reduce Canada's greenhouse gases by 17% below 2005 levels by 2020, comparable with U.S. efforts. It is well known that Canada is halfway to meeting our goal due to the measures and regulations implemented by our Conservative government. The project will also bolster Canada's good standing international as a world leader when it comes to energy. In fact, the International Energy Agency recently called for a doubling of the world's hydropower by 2050 in order to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases. Canada, with operations like the Lower Churchill River projects and other hydro developments in Manitoba, Quebec, and BC, is in a very strong position to help support this ambitious environmental goal. Conclusion, Mr. Speaker, there's no question that renewable energy is a large part of Canada's economic advantage in the global economy. There is no question that Canada's status as the world's third largest producer of hydroelectricity puts us in a position to continue to lead in the development of hydroelectricity. With this in mind, and with the many benefits that will bring to Canadians, I strongly support private members' Motion-412 and our government's commitment to these projects. I look forward to the day, Mr. Speaker, when the ribbon is cut on the Muskrat Falls hydroelectric power generating station and I will look forward to all members of this House supporting Motion-412. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci beaucoup.
Questions and comments. L'honorable député de Brome-Missisquoi.
The honourable member for Brome-Missisquoi. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree that Canada could become a world leader in renewable energy, but the federal government, according to the NDP, has to make this transition in a way that is very fair for all provinces, including Quebec. I would like to ask my colleague why the Harper government and the previous governments, previous Liberal governments, have for too long neglected the economic opportunities inherent in a green economy, in green energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for the question. Our government is all about jobs and growth in the economy. This, Mr. Speaker, is not only about jobs in the economy, it's about cleaning the environment. So it's a win-win situation. And this particular opportunity is a regional development. It's accorded to all provinces to work hand in hand. It's a regional development for this regional significance of power in the region. And we invite all provinces or regions to get together to create similar opportunities.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Kings Hants.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Nova Scotians currently pay the highest electricity rates in Canada, so this is an important question because, of course, high electricity rates are a job killer. They hurt our competitiveness, and they also are difficult for many Nova Scotian families struggling to make ends meet. So, as the Utility Review Board conducts its review in Nova Scotia and considers, for instance, the various options for hydroelectric power, if it's determined, for example, that there are also opportunities to access Quebec power, for instance, through an upgrade of the Nova Scotia-New Brunswick connector, which we're told would be around $200 million potentially, would the federal government also provide a similar loan guarantee to that connection? It's absolutely fundamental that Nova Scotians have access to the most competitive hydroelectric power. We certainly want access to hydroelectric power, and we want the best deal for Nova Scotian ratepayers. So will the federal government, in the same spirit as this private member's motion, also potentially upgrade the grid, the connection between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick to access Hydro-Quebec power as part of this?
Member for Nipissing-Timiskaming.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for his question. As I mentioned in my previous answer, Mr. Speaker, our role as a government is to create jobs and create economic development. If we can further the environmental concerns in the process, then that's great. We're providing this regional development in a way that all provinces, all regions are welcome to produce whatever proposals they have before us, and we will work. Hydroelectric power, Mr. Speaker, is the most affordable power, and it's the greenest power, it's the cleanest power, and that's why we want to move in this direction.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Prince George Peace River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the member said already, that this project is important to all Canadians, especially those in Atlantic Canada. And also, as the member mentioned in the first speech from the throne of our majority Conservative mandate, we will support any clean energy project that is economically viable, substantially lowers GHG emissions, and are of regional or national significance. Certainly this is that. Can the member please share with the House the expected benefits of this particular project? Thank you.
Member for Nipissing-Timiskaming.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the hard-working member from Prince George for that question. Mr. Speaker, the Lower Churchill project will provide, as I mentioned in my speech, significant economic benefits for the whole Atlantic region. At peak employment, we're talking in the order of 3,100 jobs is estimated for the Atlantic region, a region that certainly needs employment. In addition, this project will help substantially reduce greenhouse gases by 4.5 million megatonnes. That is the equivalent of over 1 million cars, Mr. Speaker. Our government is signing the term sheet for this loan guarantee. This shows our government's support for Newfoundland and Labrador and Nova Scotia, and indeed the entire Atlantic region. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for St. John South Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member across the way for his speech. I also look forward to the day that the ribbon is cut on the Muskrat Falls project. This project means a lot to my province of Newfoundland and Labrador. You spoke about how the hydro is reliable, it's affordable, and it's clean, and it's all of that. My question is this: what is the government prepared to do to advance the cause of a national power grid while respecting, of course, the respect of respecting the rights of individual provincial governments? I would see this as a first step towards that national power grid. What's the next step?
The Honourable Member for Nipissing-Timiskaming, short answer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for his question. Yes, the member is right. This could be the first step toward that particular arrangement, but I would like to give particular credit to the member for Labrador, the Honourable the member representing the Labrador region for his advocacy to the government on behalf of this particular project. This will certainly create a lot of jobs in the Atlantic region, and he deserves a lot of credit for his support.